Welcome to my new moon broadcast for this Cancer new moon today, 14th of July, 2026. I hope everything's working. It's, if any, yeah, good. The microphone looks like it's on. We had a bit of a problem last time. So I should be broadcasting here on Facebook and on Substack. So, yeah, hopefully you can hear me. I'm just gonna open up some themes here around this new moon. It's that time of the month where the sun and the moon make their conjunction. This month in the sign of Cancer, and it's a very interesting time because we have an alignment, a very rare alignment of planets, 4 planets, including the 3 outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, aligning with Jupiter, all in the same degree. It's happening this week during this moon cycle, and it's almost exact today. As we look, I'll show for those on Substack, I will share the chart for the new moon in a little while, and we can have a look at it because it's a very unusual configuration, and it's been spoken about and predictions made around it for quite a while. We've been anticipating this alignment. It's been described as a very beneficial alignment, particularly by an astrologer called André Barbeau, a very famous French astrologer who made some very important predictions. So I'm going to say something about that during this broadcast. But to begin with, I just want to say something about the new moon itself. So it's a new moon in Cancer, which is the sensitive water sign that we meet from the summer solstice onwards. The sun enters Cancer at the summer solstice, and we're moving toward the end of that sign period now. But this is where the new moon occurs, when the moon and sun align in exactly the same part of the zodiac. It happens at 22 degrees of Cancer. And it's exact this morning at 10:44 a.m. UK time. Just let that alarm go off. Yeah. And yeah, it's a sensitive time of the year, Cancer. It's a time where we're in the deep belly of summer. We've got the fruits sweetening on the tree. I call it the sweet spot of the zodiac, Cancer. It connects us with something very deep, ancestral, ancient, and it reminds us of the importance of home, of the importance of return. Do we have a place to return to, a home, a place that we can call home, whether that's the place where we live or the place where we're from, or the place deep within ourselves that we recognize as home, that feeling of being at home within ourselves. These are the things that we can usefully contemplate during the Cancer season. And during the Cancer new moon, we're particularly connected to a sense of longing for a place that feels nourishing for the soul, that nurtures that deep place within us that is so vital to our well-being and to our sense of meaning and to our sense of who we are. So at this new moon point, it's a great moment and an important moment to really perhaps just to remember where we come from, to remember what the source of our being, the source of who we are. And to pay attention to the fact that we are only who we are because of where we come from, because of the roots that nourish us and that support us. So yeah, a bit of homage to our families, to our ancestors, to the Great Mother, to Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. It's a real time to connect deeply with that. We have Mercury as well, very close to this new moon. Mercury is retrograde at the moment. So I hope all the technology is working this morning, that you are hearing me. So it's within 2 degrees of an exact conjunction with the sun and moon. When Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, we're particularly sensitive to the words that are spoken, and in fact, communication is most effective when it's felt. When it's can we hear, can we connect beneath the words themselves, because they can easily get misunderstood, or we can be highly sensitive to forms of communication during a Mercury retrograde period, particularly in Cancer, where we are so sensitive anyway. So yeah, it's a time to listen deeply, and a time to pay attention to the way that we're speaking and the words that we're using. So it's a time to be really mindful of the cycles of the waters in our body, our connection to water. It's a beautiful time to be by the water, to be by a spring, or to be at the sea, listening to the tide and the rhythms of the tide. Cancer's ruled by the moon. The moon, of course, we know, is so connected to the tide and the tides within ourselves. So yeah, these are some of the themes that we are can be particularly mindful of at the moment. So that's really what I want to say about the Cancer new moon. But what I really want to focus on, I think, in this broadcast is this really extraordinary alignment that's happening at the moment, that this new moon really encapsulates. And I'm going to, for those on Substack, I'm going to share the screen so that you can. Let me see if I can do this. Seem to want to let me do it for some reason. I'm now caught in some loop on. Oh gosh, how do I get out of this? Sorry. Here we go. Mercury retrograde is at work. I've now got into some horrible loop and I can't get out of it. Right. Okay. I don't know what to do about that. I can't even see myself on the screen now because of some window that's come up. I don't know how to stop this. All right. Okay. That didn't work. So maybe I can show it. This is just the chart. Maybe you can see this. Here's the chart. And we've got 4 planets here. I'll just show it briefly, then I'll just go back to speaking again. So here we have 3 outer planets: Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, in a harmonious, what we would call a harmonious aspect configuration. All at 4 degrees of their respective signs. So we've got Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, all at 4 degrees of those signs. And we have Neptune in a sextile relationship to Uranus and a sextile relationship to Pluto. They're 60-degree relationships. They are sextile relationships give us ways of creatively reimagining life, of their opportunities for growth, for evolution, there's a creative harmony that exists between planets when they're sextile to each other. And we also have then a trine aspect between Pluto and Uranus in the air element. Uranus in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius. Trines are like fully developed natural affinities that exist when planets are in trine aspect to each other, when they're in signs that are in the same element, effectively. The sun has just come over the roof of my house and it's now right in my eyes. Yeah, I can move slightly, but I think I'm just going to stay with it. And yeah, so these are all lining up at the moment, and this is really a theme of this year. It's one of the main themes of this year. We saw the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries in February. Very, very powerful conjunction, which at the cosmic reset point of 0 degrees of Aries, bringing through really a new era. I mean, we are in a new era astrologically, for sure, and can see that. I'm sure we can probably recognize that in some way reflected in the world and in our own lives. In some sense, there's this extraordinary dissolving of an old order and a new, something new trying to emerge, but in ways that we perhaps can't quite grasp yet. Saturn Neptune is a nebulous. Neptune is dissolving Saturn's order, but Saturn is also trying to bring a new spiritual world through that can take some time for us to really get a handle on, because it's not clear yet what it is, but it's very much this reset that we are in. Now, within the context of this Saturn Neptune conjunction, we then get this harmonious alignment of the outer planets. And what's happening this week, and we can see it in today's chart because it's already within this fourth planet that's coming in, which is the planet Jupiter in Leo, is now at 3 degrees of Leo. By the 19th of July, so within 5 days, it will reach 4 degrees, and it will then make the exact aspect configuration, making an opposition to Pluto, a trine to Neptune, and a sextile to Uranus. So adding these other aspects in, and it creates what astrologers often call a basket configuration. I've also heard it called a cradle as well. It's like it carries within it 5 harmonious aspects and 1 opposition which holds it together, which is the tension of the opposition between Jupiter and Pluto. But it's seen as a very creative configuration, full of possibility and creative opportunity for what it does is it allows energy to flow, it allows energy to move, and it tends to accelerate growth. So this specific configuration of July 2026 was spoken about by a very famous astrologer called Andre Barbeau, who died in 2019, aged 98. But in his life, he made some very significant predictions, which proved accurate. He made a prediction in 1989 on the Saturn Neptune conjunction when Uranus and Neptune were also approaching their conjunction. He talked about the collapse of the Soviet Union, very accurately lining that with the fall of the Berlin Wall. He also seems to have made reference to the financial crash in 2008. And most famously of all, he predicted the crisis of 2020 with the pandemic. He even used the word pandemic in his prediction in 2014 in his book about mundane astrology. So we should probably take this guy seriously, right? If he's making these sort of predictions and they're coming true. Wouldn't call myself a predictive astrologer. I'm more interested in sort of deep movements within the soul and how we connect with these. But of course, there's an element of prediction in that, and whenever we're looking at what's happening astrologically in the heavens, we're inevitably in the realm of prediction. But without predicting specific events, we can feel into a time and what the quality of that time is. And Barbeau spoke about this cyclic index that reached its deepest crisis in 2020, and that in 2026 there would be some kind of renewal, he called it a splendid rekindling of civilization that happens this month, in fact, July 2026. He saw it as the most beneficial astrological configuration of the century. Extraordinary. And of course, he's making these predictions before the 2020 crisis. I mean, everything's changed, hasn't it? Surely since COVID and all that did to the psyche and the splitting that's happened. And it looks like the world is in a total mess and a total crisis in so many ways. And yet within this, and a lot of us as astrologers have felt this year. Something is breaking through. It seems, and it's arising in the spiritual dimension that is awakening this new era, and how that plays itself out. Obviously, we're having to deal with AI and this intensely accelerated period of technological change that's changing the way that we think, the way that we relate, the way that we deal with the world. We've got Uranus in Gemini, which I think is a good reflection of the speed and the radical quality, the radical changes that are happening in the way that we communicate. We've got Pluto in Aquarius, which is I think probably um, we're having to realize the power and the shadow power of the technology during this Pluto in Aquarius period, and all with all the promise that we have around Aquarius and what it can be to help us rise above, the terrible conflict and division of the past, and into a new era of community and working together, and these ideals, this sort of utopian ideal. Aquarius is very much the utopian ideal of how we could live together harmoniously but there are huge shadows to that, as we're seeing, and the spin of that, the way that that's been spun culturally and distorted so much culturally, I think is a reflection of Pluto in Aquarius as well. So, I don't in any way want to paint this in any kind of rose tinted way with the astrology, but we can see that with these harmonious aspects, there's this possibility for perhaps new levels of understanding, new ways of creatively engaging with these forces, these powerful forces that the outer planets represent. They're transpersonal forces. Uranus brings in this revolutionary awakening energy. Neptune brings in this dissolving of form, this being able to realize that so much of what we see as material reality is actually an illusion. That's the Neptunian realization. And then Pluto brings this intense, powerful force that comes sort of from the underworld that makes us face the shadow of power. And that's what Pluto's role is, really, is to destroy our it destroys something at the core of us whatever we become attached to deeply psychologically, it raises this it puts us in touch with our deep existential fears and our fear of annihilation, our fear of losing everything. It Pluto's role really is the re-empowerment through knowing the depths of our own fear, the depths of our own shame, the depths of our pain, of our grief. And it's a cleansing process that happens when we come to realize the nature of the shadow, and the way that truth is revealed only when we can really face our own darkness. That's really Pluto's journey, the soul journey, and it connects us deeply with soul. And soul is something which is born out of lifetimes of suffering, really, and pain, and when it's part of that journey of healing the soul, to heal the all those deep ancient contracts that we have with each other, with the world, with the earth. So there's a deep cleansing and a deep healing that's happening through reflected in the Pluto story. So anyway, we've got these outer planets, these transpersonal forces that are beyond the bounds of Saturn. Saturn is the limit of our perception in a way, in the sense that we can see Saturn, we can see the planets out of Saturn, and the tradition within astrology ends with Saturn. Saturn was the final word. It's only in the last few hundred years that we've been able to perceive these outer planets through the technology, to be able to track their movements and understand the deeper implications of their cycles. Jupiter comes into this configuration. Jupiter opens our eyes, allows us to see, it reveals the meaning within. It reveals this greater meaning. It's a sort of higher, in some ways, a sort of higher octave of the solar energy. It opens and expands and amplifies and allows us to see. It's like a metaphysical vision, and that metaphysical vision now comes into play with these outer planets. And this, I think, is where Barbeau really gets as this forms what we call this basket shape, with Jupiter being the fourth planet involved, and it brings the possibility, brings this optimistic sense of what could be. It brings the benevolent, beneficent kind of energy to this outer planet configuration. So, how's this going to play out? How is this playing out in our lives? Are we, even in the midst of the 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 corruption and the distortion that is so rife, is there a deeper, more powerful spiritual force that is arising through the collective that we can connect in with? Jupiter brings joy. It brings a lightness of spirit, and a way of seeing beyond the immediacy of pain and suffering to a to a to a a higher or greater reality. So this can happen very much at the level of perception. I believe it can happen at and it can. I think even in the deepest of crisis, and I would say we are in the deepest crisis in the world, and that seems self-evident, doesn't it? And yet within that, even in that moment where it all seems to be falling apart, the planets are aligning in such a way that seems to suggest an era where an era of enlightenment, an era of dramatic and unexpected awakening. What I would say about this, and again, I don't want to glamorize this in any way, because I think this can equally be an acceleration of powerful forces that are beyond our control, that seem very very disorienting to human experience. So when planets are in a harmonious relationship, their energies are unimpeded. They can move freely. They can move openly and without resistance. And that's very much happening. We look at Pluto, the Pluto-Uranus trine. Wow, we saw the conjunction of these two planets in the 1960s, and the cultural and social and spiritual revolution that happened at that time. It was also a major crisis time. We saw it with the square in 2012, 2015. We had the Uranus-Pluto square, and that was a real crisis point in the cycle. Now we see the trine. What are we seeing here? An ease, a flow, a movement, things just moving apace, change, accelerated, collective change. And I think this is where we're at, and it could be incredibly beautiful in some ways, and it could be extremely disorienting in others. How do we ride these waves? Because the waves are here, and this is really this is such a time. If we are to take this French astrologer at his word, then this is the most splendid. What words did he use? A splendid awakening of a civilization, a new era. He talked of this new era being ushered in with the Saturn Neptune conjunction this year, and reaching a kind of its most powerful and potent period in July of this year. So let's take him at his word. Let's be optimistic. Let's see if we can connect in ourselves with this beautiful astrological energy without being naive, because clearly, I mean, we could look for the evidence of this in the world situation, and we might struggle to find it. Perhaps we can find it in ourselves, in our own inner world, because that obviously is where change begins. That's where it can only change within us, within ourselves. So let's welcome it in. Let's welcome in the beauty of this alignment. And yeah, it's a good thought, isn't it? As we enter this seed moment of the month, the new moon in Cancer, um, a return to where we come from, a sense of return, to the deep knowing of what nourishes us, of what supports us, of where we are grown from ancient roots. Let's honor our ancestors. Let's honor our history, our family, our mother, the great mother, and let's remember the joy, the beauty of existence, and celebrate this world that we live in. Yeah, during this beautiful time. Okay, well, I hope that's made some kind of sense. I sometimes feel I'm just rambling away. I probably am on these broadcasts, but anyway, I hope that's speaking to you in some way. I'd share one or two things that I'm up to. Got uh, my new book written with Andrea Bradu. We co-wrote this book, The Planetary Dialogues, which came out a month ago, and yeah, we're very excited to share that work on polarity. It's a poetic work of astrological theatre, poetic dialogues between the planets that are planets that have opposite natures. It's this revealing this kinship that exists within opposition, within polarity. I think that's something I deeply believe in, is that when we can hold the tension between opposite forces, we can realize the beauty, the possibility of healing and reconciliation, and creativity as well. So that's a big theme at the moment, and we're out presenting that work, performing those dialogues in different places, including in Glastonbury in August. I'm actually giving a talk on Friday at the Magdalene conference. We'll be talking about Mary Magdalene and the Glastonbury Zodiac on Friday evening in Glastonbury at the United Reformed Church. So please come along to that, 7:00. I've got my foundation course starting in October. It's my foundation course in astrology, which runs every year, online course, giving you all the fundamentals of astrology. That starts in October. I've also got my diploma course starting as well, which is the advanced course, the second year, the follow-up course to the foundation. That also starts in October as well. And I'm running a 4-day retreat in Sweden, 1st to the 5th of October, 1st to the 4th of October in beautiful part of northern Sweden. That's the 12 Sacred Wounds retreat. So please have a look on my website, kairosastrology.co.uk, for all the information about that. And yeah, I wish you well. Blessings of this new moon. And may the Barbo basket be all that it says it is. The most beneficent, the most benevolent aspect configuration of the century. Could it be? Could this be what we're living through? Could this be the rekindling of a more sane, more beautiful, more coherent society? Is this the signature of it? And if it is, let's call it in. Really. All right. Great. Much love, everyone. And yeah, wish you well.